my second edition of Norma in Rome, and he said, I want to remind you of something. This is Maestro Serafina. And he said, you have an instrument. You study all the time. It's a violoncello, shall we say, eh? Now forget that you're really singing and just play. Play your phrases, legato, let yourself go. Forget that there are difficult phrases and this and that. Just have fun. Forget that you've studied at home. This is what I want you to do. Because this is the most beautiful piece of music. And really, now forget what you've studied, just feel your words. Feel the where it says grandioso. Let yourself out. Always controlling yourself, of course. But there's plenty. I wouldn't be afraid if I were you.
See, with excitement comes very high.
Very good. That's good. That means life. If you're excited, thank heavens. That's what I'm looking for. Life. You've got to breathe life in these things because they were born with life.
And as you could listen, as you could hear yourselves in the voice of for many people, the greatest soprano to ever be on stage, Maria Callas, when she says that music, all these pieces of music were born with life in the conversation, in the lesson that she's having with mezzo-soprano Sheila Nasler. And they were singing something on Amneris, from Opera Ida. So it's very interesting when you listen to Maria saying that all these things were born with life and you have to breathe life in what you're singing. And this is the topic of our season 9 that we are opening today. This is the first episode. And we have as a guest, we have Rafael Eguia, we have Raffa over there that is going to be joining us for a good number of programs. I know that you will learn to appreciate the passion that he really has for music. And so, with that being said, hi Rafa, thank you very much for joining on this premiere episode.
Hi everyone. Nice to hear you once again, my dear Ricardo.
We have been acquaintances for a good number of years. Of course, we are not going to reveal how many years. I like to believe that you still think that we are not that old. But the thing here for our season 9 is that we will be paying more attention to the interpretation and the emotions that singers manage to convey. Of course, we will still be paying attention to the quality of the sound, the quality of the mission, the quality of the technique. But moreover, in this season, we are talking about the emotion that the singer is able to pass, to convey to the audience. Fortunately to us, everyone here, you will notice that Rafa is also a very passionate artist. He has been singing, I don't know, for a good number of years, over 10 or 15 or around 20 years, Rafa. I really don't have the number, but I know that music has been your passion for good number of years already, and you will notice yourself as we start with the content today. So enough with the content, and let me tell you how this is going to be about. In each program, we are going to be selecting a given song. That's very important. This season, we are not really into opera. We're not talking about Aida, Madame Butterfly, any of the great composers that we know. We are not leaning towards those, but we are leaning towards some songs, more popular content, but that has been taken through the world in the voices of many times of opera singers. Today we have one that is not really an opera singer. We will get there. Wait, we'll get there. But the reason why I wanted to have this season and have these extraordinary songs is because they are so extraordinary that they have passed the barrier of popular music and have reached the interest of many opera singers. And with that being said, why not? Why don't we start with O Sole Mio? Of course, even if you don't know the melody, the name you certainly know because everybody knows O Sole Mio. Composed, I wanted to say, well, I am going to refer to Italy because, of course, the Neapolitan music comes from Italy, even though I want to remark that I know that the Neapolitan music comes from a very specific region in Italy. So it is not the same to say Italian music and Neapolitan music. There is a difference, and even the language is Neapolitan, not really Italian, so we know that. But we're not going to stop there. I just wanted to mention it because before anybody tells me, but Ricardo, you need to refer to Naples and the Neapolitan region, not only Italy, because of this, of this, of this. That is not the discussion. I know. I'm just pointing it out in the beginning. And enough with the introduction. Let's get into O Sole Mio. And the first thing that I would like to say is that we Latin people, I mean, both Rafa and I, we are Mexican. We are known for being passionate. Latinos are passion, right? That's sort of the stereotype, and sort of it is true. Yes, we are emotion. But for me, what I notice, we have discussed it with Katia as well. Italians are volcanoes. They are so passionate in what they say. I really believe that they even surpass Latinos because Italians open their mouths and they are already singing. There is also something about the Italian language that it is very easy to sing, much more easier than even Spanish. So they have everything there to make great creations, and that's how Maestro di Capua comes with this very well known song O Sole Mio. We are going to be having today, we are having three different versions of O Sole Mio, and we are going to have our comments on those. And let me give you a spoiler because I know you will notice, because I can share with you that Rafa is passionate about Pavarotti. Of course, everybody who knows about or has heard about the three tenors knows that the voice of Pavarotti is beautiful, is brilliant, has a very nice sound. He has a very solid technique. So all the qualities of the voice of Pavarotti are not being put into question. We know the quality of singer that he was, and we also know that Pavarotti liked to sing Neapolitan music in his concerts. Pavarotti, being an Italian, he took Neapolitan music to every concert he made. He had O Sole Mio, of course, he had Con Ingrato, and many other Neapolitan or Italian music he brought to his concerts. He wanted to promote the music of his country. And with that being said, we're bringing preferably to this series live presentations, because remember that we have a preference for live, because in a studio everything is perfect, but live is where you see what's the distance between what you hear in the studio and what actually happens live. So we will have the opportunity of comparing, of course, with the years and the great experience that Pavarotti had. He hardly ever fell into trouble in his live presentation. So then again, enough with the introduction. Let's listen to the version of Luciano Pavarotti singing year 1995 at Llangollen in Wales. Yeah, I was not recalling. So we're going to listen to the piece of music complete. I wanted to mention something before I forget. Since we are using music of several singers, it is possible, we don't know now, but it is possible that YouTube or our streaming platforms like Apple Music, Amazon, Spotify, any of the platforms that we are sharing our content through, it is possible that any of those block these audio parts. So if that is the case, if you and you were listening to us Amazon Music and then there is the program is suddenly cut or trimmed in some parts, it is because they decided to apply some copyright uh, limitation in a country, because also the limitations are not for every country. So should you be in Taiwan, maybe you won't be able to listen to the complete content as someone in Australia. So I just wanted to let you know, because this is the exception. This is the first time in our podcast that we are using complete pieces of music from other interpreters. So be aware that if you're in a country where there is a copyright restriction, you might not be able to listen to the complete content. I would invite you to go back to YouTube, and on YouTube, the complete audio and video piece will be available. So no more discussion, and let's listen to the very great singer Luciano Pavarotti singing O Sole Mio.
Che bella cosa una giornata e sole, l'aria serena dopo una tempesta, per l'aria fresca pareggia la festa. Che bella cosa una giornata e sole. Fronte a te, stai in fronte a te. Quando fa notte o sole se ne scende, me viene quasi una malinconia sotto la finestra cogliere staria. Quando fa notte o sole se ne scende, tu sole più bella in o sole mio, stai in fronte a te. Stai in
Of course, there is a huge applause for Luciano singing O Sole Mio. Rafa, what are your thoughts? What do you think about this rendition of Luciano for O Sole Mio? I'm afraid you are in mute, Rafa. We cannot hear you.
Yes, thank you. So sorry. Yes, yes, Richard. As you can see, you can be, let's say, delighted when he is singing this kind of Napolitan music, Napolitan sings, sorry, Napolitan songs, and with this power, which is becomes a screen of angels or something like this. When you can hear him, you can see that in the very beginning, there starts with a chorus, with a huge chorus, which has a scene in behind of him as a glorious guy, which is very in a perspective, in a very positioned in his role, and the security when he's putting his feet in the stage is 100% um, warm in a way. Let's say it's warm. You can you can go um, diving in the waves in the sea, for example, and you just go flow and flow and flow, and his power never gets into your ears loudly or tremendous, or his tone, his brightness is is a perfect sign that he's a fish in the sea.
He certainly is very comfortable. I mean, Neapolitan songs are perfect for tenors. I think we have shared it in season one. Neapolitan music was perfectly written for tenors. The The notes are easily covered by the tessitura of a tenor. So being a good, you just need to be a good tenor, and you will feel comfortable. And you are Italian, more comfortable, and you know your stage as Pavarotti, so you're more comfortable. But I wanted to go back to your comment because also one of the things that really impresses me, that really touches me, is think of this: you are Italian. You know, O Sole Mio is a great song from your country, and you see
Mhm.
this huge choir behind you singing O Sole Mio. I can tell you that if because that happens to us when you listen, when you are on stage, a big presentation of a mariachi, you see 30 mariachis on stage, a singer, and everybody singing um, uh, uh, either a ranchera song or Viva Mexico or anything with a mariachi, and your heart is about to explode. So when I see Pavarotti with all that choir behind him, everybody singing O Sole Mio, I say it, it really melted the heart. It really touches. I don't know who came with the idea of singing it with the choir, but personally, I think that was a very positive result because we are used to listening only to the singer going through the all the verses of the song. But now that you listen to the choir, it's one thing. Another thing that I wanted to mention, because we are going to compare it with the third one, the third version that we are listening today, is that the orchestration is not excessive.
Mhm.
One of
Mhm.
the things that I don't like when traditional or popular music is brought to the voices of opera singers is that the orchestration is exaggerated. The volume of the orchestra, da, 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 da. If you listen to other like the three tenors or the other one that we are going to listen, it's not da, da, it is da, 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 da. You see, it exceeds the emotion, even if it is passion. I think that going da 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 like sort of breaks the magic of the song. Opposite to what we see on Pavarotti and the choir, the orchestra is modest in a way that it is not exaggerating the sound. The choir never exaggerates the sound either. They don't go, oh, sole mio. They don't go excessive either, so that the voice of Pavarotti falls over the orchestra and the choir without, the struggle or what is more powerful than the other. From my perspective, they match very
Yes.
well with good orchestration, no exaggerations in volume, nice
Yes.
participation of the choir, and of course the voice of Pavarotti. Sorry for the
And
interruption. I wanted to share
no,
that.
and as you can see, there's a little space. Well, not space. There's in a minute one with 56 seconds. There's um, a moment when Pavarotti starts to sing in a passive voice. In fact, a little bit before he raises his hand and says, like saying, "Hey, that's my turn, and look at this, what I'm gonna do right now, right?" And it starts, and that kind of accents, that kind of melismas, is which build a great song interpretation. No one in here in this, let's say, in this um, world of tenors, let's say, is able to do that in with that security in his voice, and managing the whole orchestra with only with his voice, and managing all the chorus only with his voice, because, as you said, the matching is perfect between the orchestra, between the chorus, and his voice. As I said, he is more than comfortable in his song. He's perfect at the end.
Yeah, absolutely. Also, thank you for mentioning that because that was also of my comments, one of my comments. People in all the previous seasons in the programs I lead alone or when I am with Katia, how much I insist. I am so tired, really so tired. So if you allow me the expression, maybe too harsh, I am so fed up. I am tired of listening to the singers all the time in high volume.
Yeah.
Malato sole, oh sole. That there is one moment when you feel tired of the notes and the volume because the singer is not doing anything except throwing everything out there.
Hmm.
And when you throw everything on, "Oh, sole mio, la sole de da 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 da," it's tiring. After 30 seconds, you are tired.
Yeah, it's
Pa-
totally flat.
it's completely out of place because you are telling a story. The song, where I'm going to put the lyrics of the song in a second, it tells a story, a short story, but it's still a story. So you can and think that popular music is more like the spoken language. You're telling a story, and when you say, "Guess what?" and this happens, and your volume of your voice, but no, 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 wait, now this is going to change. We do many things with our voices when we're telling a story. We should expect that the story that is being sung also has some changes, and Pavarotti understands it. That's why, very positively, he says, I am going to go low volume, pianissimo, and I will keep the attention of people. Pavarotti said, I have two options. I keep my high volume, or go the other way. Quando fa notte. And he, of course, was a success. That's what needs to be done because you will listen. Moreover, in this season, you will listen to me insisting on this. Don't yell all the time. It's
Hmm.
boring. It's tiring. That doesn't make you an artist. That
Hmm. Hmm.
just proves that you have a powerful voice and nothing more than that. That
That's
doesn't make
right.
you an artist. An artist
Yes.
understands and dares to use his resources to do something with the music. Because Pavarotti comes from this tone and then goes, "Mana," and everybody's like, ah, look, he's going quieter on the sound and he's still comfortable and he's still taking us through the song.
Yeah. Yeah. And I assure you, and I can ensure you something that uh, um, his powerness of his voice, it, he didn't gave the 100%.
Ah,
They gave,
absolutely.
they maybe gave the 70%, certainly, you know, because it's Pavarotti at the end. It's Pavarotti, and he manages his voice in a master way.
And
One.
you're also correct on that one because at the end I have also mentioned it a number of times. Again, this season will give me the opportunity to insist on that because o sole stan pronti a te, then the final stan pronti, he could have gone forever pronti a te, and like 7 seconds, 8 seconds, 9 seconds, and then do something and do like like excessive, but he chose not to do. But
That's
we
right.
know that he has enough capacity in his lungs, in his
That's
breath,
right.
to keep the note for much longer. We know he can. But he said, I don't need to do it. It's a
Yeah.
sole mio. What's the need to, I don't need to prove anything because they already know and I know who I am. And if I'm going
Yeah.
to prove it, maybe it's going to be on another opera aria, maybe in Cavaradossi or Aida or anything else. But for Sole Mio, if he had gone for an excessively long note at the end, it would have lost the magic
Hmm. Hmm.
because you have the choir, ta da ta ta, the orchestration, beautiful, ta da ta da, him playing with the volumes of his sound, and at the end, to say it's out of place.
Yeah.
He
Yeah.
was, from my perspective, he was very wise on what he chose to do.
Yeah, because he knows he knows he knows what has to be interpreted this Osolemi song, so he knows perfectly what is needed in this interpretation or in this area.
Now that I am putting on the screen the lyrics of O Sole Mio. By the way, it is I have the scores from Napolitan music, and not surprisingly, it is an edition that it's called Luciano Pavarotti Sings Neapolitan Songs. So this is an excerpt of that book with the music, because as I was saying in the beginning, we know that Luciano, being Italian, liked to take the music of his country to everywhere he presented throughout the world. And the lyrics of the song, and I wanted to mention this, the name is O Sole Mio. We're going to see that the composer refers later to a woman he loves,
Mm-hmm.
but he chooses to address his singing the appreciation, the recognition to the sun.
Mm-hmm.
This is not money, this is not value, this is not anything material like we have in our societies, but he chooses to thank the sun.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That is very interesting because we are going to see it in many of our songs that we are going to have in this cycle. Because um, when you have popular music, you don't go for super sophistication in the singing and in the content. You don't make reference to philosophers, to literature. No, you're a common person who likes to live his life. And if you think, would I ever run into an Italian or people from the region, the Neapolitan region, maybe riding his car and singing O Sole Mio on a beautiful sunny day? I think I would. Because you feel it in the song. Da, 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 da. You feel like it touches you. It is not a super sophisticated, complex
There's no need.
musical construction.
There's no need.
It works and it touches you, because without being an opera singer you can say, well, you don't know the words, maybe you only go for tararara if you don't know the words, because no, not everybody speaks Neapolitan. But if you know the melody, you can easily play with it. Ta 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 ta, and play maybe with the rhythm, or do something with your voice, and it turns out that you feel like happy.
Yeah, the softness of Pavarotti in this presentation was lovely, was incredible. And from my point of view, that part of quando fa sole, oh sole, sole, that was amazing from my point of view. That was amazing. In fact,
Yeah.
I have never seen another tenor singing that paragraph in that moment and with that interpretation. Never seen. As you said, it's been always la la la, always, always.
Yeah, that can be the case. That shouldn't be the case. Why don't we go for the second proposal of the content that we are having today? And this is a surprise, maybe not for everybody, but it was for me, because we are bringing Jorge Negrete, who was not a voice that sang operas on stage. I mean, he was never a Conte di Luna at the Opera de Bellas Artes, or at the Teatro in Buenos Aires, or at the New York Opera House. None of those. He was for the Mexican cinema, one of the stars, one of the most important stars of the golden age of the Mexican cinema. And he was also known because he's contemporary to another very famous singer under the name of Pedro Infante. The two of them with very different voices. If you don't know Jorge Negrete, you're about to hear him now. His voice is, wow, so amazingly beautiful. It's such uh, a manly type of voice, a very virile type of voice, still soft with these sounds that are like velvet. Man, I mean, I guess 99% of singers would like to have a voice like Jorge Negrete's voice. He was known also as the Charro Cantor, if I remember well. Uh, if you people, because people listening, I had forgotten to tell you that today's statistics as of today, 806 cities in the world are listening to us. Thank you very much. Also, I noticed in the statistics today that the top city that is listening to us through Amazon, Apple Music, and Spotify, the top city in the world that is listening to us is Paris.
Oh
So
wow.
thank you very much, people in France, for having received us so well. La France was, I believe, number 60, and now it is number one in our listeners. So, people in Paris, thank you very much. And if you know Mexican culture, then you know what a charro is. This I don't know about you, Rafa, but personally, the dressing of a charro for me is so elegant,
Very,
so
very.
attractive to see with the big hat, and I don't know the words of the ornaments, the sort of golden ornaments on the chalequillo, and
Uh,
it's beautiful. That's
it's
very.
very particular. It's very particular custom. Yeah.
I could never dare to dress like that, but I admire whenever you see a people dressing like a charro, you say,
Okay. Maybe we don't have let's say the volunteer, I don't know how to say exactly in English,
bravery.
or the bravery. Thank you to dress that kind of costume, because if you are really charro, which can sing, you need to porter in a 100% shape. You need to be you need to have a very good voice. If you don't, it will be terrific like this. Because at the end, Jorge Negrete puts the level of the charro very high here in Mexico.
Yeah,
It's
absolutely.
it's not so easy.
And I was saying that much to our surprise, our charro cantor went for this song, O Sole Mio. You will listen to the version in Spanish. They changed it. It is at the beginning of a movie called
Dos tipos de cuidado.
Yes, and I think we are going to be talking about Pedro Infante. Maybe not today, but we are going to go back to Pedro Infante because it is also very important what he did. And it's black and white because I believe this is year 1952.
1950, 1952.
Yeah, so uh, black and white was recording. Of course, this is quality of studio. This is an exception because he never did it live. It is interesting how he does, but let's leave for the comments for later. Let's listen to how it goes in the voice of the charro cantor as O Sole Mio in Spanish.
Olor de campo que la arboleda la brisa enreda con su canción de un sol maravilloso, Dios milagroso, ay, el campo es nido de inefables cosas, cantar de río y llorar de alondras, torrente brioso que besó la luna, vaivén de cuna en el agua azul. Olor de campo, quella
So this has been the voice. Oh, let me pop it there. This has been the voice, the great voice of Jorge Negrete singing O Sole Mio, the version in Spanish. And before I give my comments on what I actually think of this rendition, I think I don't want to influence Rafa's opinion. So, Rafa, why don't you start sharing what your thoughts are on the overall O
Well,
Sole Mio?
first of all, we can see in here that we are hearing another type of voice, another type of tesitura, because Jorge Negrete it's a baritone. So you can see versus Pavarotti's version, it's two um, two tones
Lower, yeah.
lower, or maybe three, or
Three.
maybe three
It
tones
is
lower.
closer to a third, yeah.
Yeah, three tones lower, and you can see it because he starts to sing lo ro 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 ro. It's too low, and obviously it's a not comfortable tone for Pavarotti, for example. In this case, that's obvious, but you can see in this interpretation from Jorge Negrete that uh, even though it's so low, you can hear it too great. So much. You can hear the feel. You can hear the interpretation that is quite good. Okay, and we are seeing in here a part of a screen in a movie. But when he was singing alive, it was the same. He has no efforts in his voice. He has no efforts in order to explode his chest or something like this. He was very quiet because in the very beginning of Jorge Negreta's career, he was studying opera, in fact. So that's the reason why he's quite good about singing that kind of even as I said, even though it's very low, it's quite good to sing that kind of areas. You can see that the bass tone is extraordinary. You can understand precisely what he's saying when he's interpreting every single of these words in the lyrics. The brightness is great. I don't know how to say this technical word in English, but el timbre of his voice is great. And what important in his type of voice, the passaggio that he has in the at the end of the when you can hear the medals dum boom that passaggio is not so easy in his type of voice because at the end he's going or he's passing through the very low note to a very high note in just less than a second. Okay, and it has to be a very technique there. So that's my point of view in this interpretation from Jorge Negrete.
And also, now that you mentioned about the last word, iluminar, we have also explained in other seasons that unfortunately for singers, Spanish is not a good language for singing, opposite to Italian, where everything flows very well. In Spanish, and moreover, the use of certain syllables, we have I, U, I, A. Iluminar requires, and it has also consonants that are uncomfortable. The M tends to be very nasalized. The N before the final A, so it goes I, L, U, M, I, N, A, R. So all those sounds, besides the changes that Rafa explained, Illuminar, you see, yes, it's difficult to work on the notes, but it is also difficult to work on the emission because the cavities or the resonators need to do many changes very rapidly so that it sounds well, and that's usually the path of disaster in many times when you want to sing because the E goes to the back and then the A goes more to the center and things starts to go very, very complicated. But he of course had rehearsed and has studied enough. And I think that one thing that we need to mention of course Jorge Negrete's voice is very beautiful. Of course, the sound is also very warm. But one more thing that is very interesting: Jorge Negrete knows his voice. He knows what he can do
And what he cannot.
and what he cannot. And he says, I can go low and feel comfortable and sound nice, going to do it. Then I need to go Illumina and I feel comfortable, I'll do it. If there is something I don't feel comfortable, I will not do it. That's why when you listen to the recordings of Jorge Negrete, he's always at a very high level of quality in what he delivers because he knows very well his voice. As a result, we listeners we receive a very quality, a very high quality of the final product of what he delivered. I mean, that's how he built his career because we knew it's going to be a song by El Charro Cantor. You know that it's going to be beautiful. The sounds are going to be there. His voice is not going to sound weak. He's not going to sound like he's being, tortured in the sounds. He's always so comfortable in the sound that you as a listener are comfortable in yourself. But there is something that I really need to mention, not on the positive side, and it is not Jorge. It's the arrangements. The arrangements are so 1950s. The female voices. Ta-da-da. For me, out of place. The arrangements in the music also too too cheesy, like cursi in Spanish, like too cheesy, because we come from listening to the original version of Pavarotti, the beautiful choir, the beautiful sound of the orchestra, and then we go to the movie and listen to the cheesy version for the cinema. That's the only thing that bothers me in the version. It's like, this is the product. I certainly keep Jorge's voice. Of course, I cannot refuse to keep his voice because he's extraordinary, but the arrangements and the female voices, I understand that it's the style of the cinema of those years, but I really don't love the
Yeah,
female voices and the arrangement. Not for me.
I I agree. It was as you said, it was the season at that time in the 50s. Is in a way that's the beginners, let's say in a way, who started to create in the time forward a kind of style of opera for the new singers. At the end, it is an old version, and obviously for more than 70 years after, for us is completely out of our, let's
Taste
say,
of the things that we'd like.
yeah, yeah, I agree.
Also, I wanted to ask you if you think, emotionally speaking, I wanted to ask you if you think that Jorge really connected in the emotion of the song.
And it say that is maybe it could be unfair to have a yes or no because as you said in the beginning, when you are singing alive, you can hear the voice very organic. Even the errors could be appreciated, and you are now seeing a picture, a movie, which maybe could take 20 20 takes or maybe 15 or I don't know how many. And certainly this movie, it was recorded in a long play, an LP, and it's not so fair at the end to get in touch to the people because you are seeing the interpretation through a screen. Is not people alive. You know what I mean? Certainly, I know that it was a great interpretation, but as you said, the girls as a chorus, the scene in the fields and the waves going down to the mountain and that kind of stuff, it brings in your brain another things. It distracts you to the interpretation. you know. So just to answer your question, I will say is not fair, un yes or no. You just have to focus on his voice and what did he, did he interpret this song, and just like this, no more further because I cannot say that it was a connection in there. It was difficult to me to say that.
And before we jump to the third version that we are sharing today, I also wanted to go back to your comment on maybe people who are listening and watching us premiering on YouTube, listening to us later, maybe Amazon, maybe Apple Music. Uh, but for artists, it is very important. It feels different. And I know, Rafa, that you have recorded many times in the studio. So you know how it is in the studio that you are separate in a separated room. You have the crystal there, the sound engineer, maybe the producer, someone else. You are here. You are with the mic. You are with the headset, and the connection. In a way, you have to recreate it from the inside because there is not a face of someone in front of you, like excited, like sad, like waiting. There is no feedback in the emotion, so you have to
That
build your own emotion so that you can recreate the song. And that, of course, is difficult. Much easier life because you actually have the people there cheering. And maybe when you say, "Oh, I'm not so good in the voice today," but when you see people clapping and happy, it's like energy flowing through all your body, and you said, "I'm going to do it."
exactly, yes, yes. And when you're an artist or a singer and you are performing in front of an audience, you have this feedback with the audience, with the public. You can see faces that are has that they has emotion when you are performing. So you get involved in that role when you see that people that they are surprised what you are doing. So this feedback is what a singer says, oh my, I'm doing right things. All right. So you push it. You're strong. You're stronger, and the performance it's much better. Will be much better than the studio because in the studio, as you said, you are concentrated. You are focused in to be perfect. You need to be perfect in the studio. Otherwise, you need to you need to back once again and once again and once again. Okay. And when you are performing, it's just once. And in just one, you have to do it perfect. But as I said, sometimes the errors become success.
Many times. And let's go for our third version that we are sharing today. More no, recent singers. We are referring to the German singer, of course, Mr. Kaufmann, that many people know. Here, Mr. Kaufmann was much more younger. I think it was year 2008 of this recording. Yeah, in Moscow, December 16, 2008, when he sings with the baritone Dmitry Vorostovsky, which unfortunately passed away a few years, still very young. Vorostovsky passed away. But we have this recording live again of the two of them. And why is it particular? First, because we have the voice of the tenor and the voice of the baritone. We have had a tenor, Pavarotti. We had a baritone with the charro cantor, Jorge Negrete. And we have the two types of voices in the same song, performing side by side on stage. I'm going to play it for you all, and we go back with our comments.
Che bella cosa, hai urlato sole, un'aria Quando fa notte lo sole se ne scende, non vede quasi la malinconia. Sotto finestra voglia resta ria. Quando fa notte lo sole se ne scende.
And so these are the voices of tenor Jonas Kaufman along with baritone Dmitry Vorostovsky. Rafa, what are your thoughts on this version?
Well, I need to say that my point of view, for me, it likes me much more the young guy. If I'm not wrong, is Mr. Kaufman,
Mhm.
the younger guy. Yes. As you said in the beginning, these kind of areas are written for tenors. It's much more comfortable for him. Um, in fact, his performance, his natureness is, from my point of view, is very positive. Even, sorry, besides he's also a kind of type of, in this case, in the parodies version, when he starts to low down the voice and whisper it, and once again, there's movement in the role. You know, there's you can hear that there's an interpretation. There is not flatness in there. That's that those are good news for the tenors, for the people that are hearing them, because you're hearing something once again organic, alive, and you can see the movement, not as in a studio, which has to be in as a metronome. You know, you have to be exactly in the precise moment, in the precise note, whatever you need to do in there. In here, you can play with your voice, as such as play parody and such as play this guy in this version. The other guy, Mr.
Vorostovsky, huh?
Horovstovsky, that's right. Uh, he has a very nice voice. I can understand that, but I need to say it's not my style. You know, it's not my style in a way that um, is a kind of when I'm hearing that kind or that type of voice in these kind of areas, I'm saying, okay, it's a well song, it's a good interpretation, but it's not convincing me that it's for him. You know, it's not for him. Maybe he has to do another thing because his power is more in other kind or in other type of areas or songs that maybe he can write much better than he did right now. So that's my point of view about those guys. And the chorus is much less in on scene versus Parotti's version. But at the end, you can see a great orchestra, a great direction, and a great chorus. The arrangements they were so nice. I could say even than maybe better than Pavarotti's version. Talking about arrangements, obviously, because at the end we are maybe I think 20 or 15 years after that Pavarotti's version, because at the end everything is getting better and better and better at the end. But the mixing, the matching between the orchestra and the singers, for me, is quite good. But I need to tell that difference between Kaufman. From my point of view, it's better if that's fair to comparison, better than Horodowski.
We also need to consider that Jonas Kaufman is a tenor, yes, but he's a heavy tenor, a much
Yeah.
heavier voice than Pavarotti. So we also have explained in other seasons, in other episodes, that when you have a voice that is this huge, it's more difficult to convey something softer than when you have a smaller voice because you don't have to make that huge effort. So I understand the effort for Kaufman that provided the type of tenor that he is, but he worked, he studied, he's German. I mean, he's not even Italian, so his German says, okay, I'm going to do it on stage, I'm going to work on it, I'm going to work on the nuances, the melismas, and all these things that make unique a version, and I'm going to make it work. On the other hand, we have Vorostovsky, a Russian baritone. So, truth is that Russian mood does not really understand the Latin part of Europe, that it could be Neapolitan region, and the other way around. We really don't understand how they uh, perceive and express their emotions. There is sort of a misconnection at a
Hmm.
cultural level, and we notice because there is something that is not really connecting in the singing of Vorostowski. Of course, we know he has a beautiful voice, beautiful, mature, natural baritone voice, but there is something that is not really working there. And many times we have heard a great singer trying, for instance, American musicals, and you say he's a great singer, but that song of Sinatra, he really didn't connect with Sinatra, because now we're talking about Sinatra, who is also special, a very special way of singing. So great singer, but mm, something's missing. I would agree that Vorostowski really does not nail it as does Kaufman. What I don't like, uh, personally, I think that mainly at the beginning, the orchestration is a little too loud for my taste. The arrangements are nice. I also think that the arrangements are nicer than the one with Pavarotti, but the volume, whenever I listen to O Sole Mio and the first notes are fortissimo, I usually don't accept it because, from my perspective, has to be more medium, somewhere between medium and forte, but not fortissimo. So when you open fortissimo, for me, I'm lost it. So when they start,
Yeah.
I said no. Say da 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 da. Then you say, now we're talking. I also feel like the choir volume was exceeded, but I also think something that I wanted to share with you, Rafa.
Okay.
If you see the body language of the two of them, it is
Yep.
similar to what happens in the concert of the three tenors when then you're going to do this, I am going to do that, and yes, I'm going to help you. The score is there.
Um.
There's a little of a performance of what they are about to do. I know they had already agreed on that they were doing it, but to the public, we need to pretend that we are agreeing on who is singing what and how we're going to do it. It it is attractive, visually attractive doing it because you see that singers, because and moreover opera singers are always stiff, just stand up, stay here and you sing, oh, and sometimes you move your hands, but you're always like that, very firm, very solid. If you're lucky enough, maybe the singer smiles, maybe he never smiles. He finishes his aria, thanks the director, and leaves. That's what you see. But here you see Jonas having fun, you see Dimitri having fun. At the end, that is the frozen scene there. They are even touching, like having contact, and that feels warm. That's what I like it here. The version, even if the Horostovsky does not really nail it vocally or interpretation wise, one feels the connection between the two singers, the two like two humans saying, "Yeah, let's do it. Let's go for it." And that's what I like about this one, that this is also more like relaxed, not stiff, relaxed. Even if somehow agreed before they did it, it still manages to feel fine. One looks at it and says, "Ah, these guys are having fun."
Okay, it's fine. And if you allow me, let me tell you two things. For me, it was very important that you already, one of that you already said, and the second, I'm going to get a little bit deeper. Number one, as this relationship between those guys, similar in a way with the relationship between those three guys in 1990 in as the three tenors, which was in that time very, very famous. Um, I can see that since that moment when the three tenors in 1990 start to do that kind of scenes, right, in the stage, it begins another kind of opera between tenors or between baritone tenors or singers of opera. That was the starting point. They made a kind of school, the good school, in order to the future singers for opera, because that's the opera needs at the end. Because we know that opera sometimes for many people is not so good accepted because sometimes it's boring or so loud or it's classic music and I don't like the classic music. I like rock or something like this. So that kind of friendship, as you said, is easier to get into the audition, to get into the people that is hearing these people, and it's better. It can invite you to get deeper into the opera and say, "Oh my, okay, so the opera is also funny. It's also fun." And I'm going to get deeper inside of this kind of music. That's point number one. And point number two, and which I would like to get a little bit deeper, that those singers owe me in a way, is why if you have on the scene, on the stage, one tenor and one baritone, why they didn't match in a bass tone with a third song, making a kind of couple or a double, I don't know how to say, a duo, you know, when you are making, as at the end, in this version, die from the dead, die, one says, die from the dead, and the other says, die from the dead, at the end that sounds great, but why he didn't do between the song in order to have much more in their performance. That's the thing that he that them, in this case, in this version, he owes me, because uh, you need to approach, or you need to get the advantage to have these kind of two types different voices. That will be my comment there.
Yeah, that's a very interesting point of view. Yeah, I understand. You say why not joining the two voices instead of singing your part, my part, and the final two phrases together. No, that's basically what they do. Your part,
And in the
my
same
part.
and the same melody,
Hmm.
because they were singing in the same melody, one with as a tenor and one as a baritone, but they never mixed. You know.
That's a very interesting thing. Maybe in the future we can find a version if somebody else has done it. At the end, also the it is very common when you have a duet. And if you notice when they are singing "Sto in fronte a te" before the final high note, you can barely listen to Kaufman because the baritone, of course, is a much wider, more powerful voice, so you cannot clearly listen to the tenor. So the tenor, what he usually does is that he goes higher at the end, so that's hey, I'm alive, I'm singing, eh? So that's why he goes so that now he can separate his voice actually from the baritone, and you can hear him. That is a very operatic way of doing things. Personally, I don't like it. There are cases where I would say it sounds well, but there are other cases like this one where I don't like it because this is a nice song, not a competition. So singing together, Quando fa notte, that would have been so very nice instead of the competition at the end. So I think that could also be improved. I also agree what you say. Somehow, after having the three tenors on the stage, opera singer said, "Hey, we can have a concert and still have fun. We can have a concert and have thousands of people there having fun with us." And that is the reason why we are going to close today's program with just the part, the very, very, very famous part of the O Sole Mio in the voice of the three tenors, the first concert they had in 1994, if I remember well, at Las Termas de Caracalla, because Pavarotti is going to do something that is not even written. Because it is popular music, there is no trill written. But since there is a competition, and in this case, I think it's a positive competition, they had, of course, agreed to it. There is sort of acting that it is improvisation, but they knew that he was going to do it. But it looks nice. The thing is that it looks nice. Uh, And Pavarotti says, I have a trill. I am going to show these guys how you do a trill in this Sole Mio. And we also have to say that after the trill of Pavarotti, many tenors started to add the trill to O Sole Mio,
Yeah.
just to prove that I can do what Pavarotti did. I would have to say that maybe 90% of the cases it's not a good result because in order to have a nice trill, you have to exercise to your agilities. And for lyrical tenors, they are not very good at the agilities because the type of movement that you go on a trill, you go for a note, and depending on the type of trill, but you go for a note, tone or a semitone higher, and then lower or start lower and do like this, like a quick wave that would be a trill, but you have to sound in control. The color has to remain. And that's what we are going to listen in the voice of Pavarotti. And we're not going to listen to Carreras and Domingo because they tried to do something similar. It's horrible. It's a perfect example of what you cannot do. Pronto, so like that sounds horrible. But we are going to listen to the part of Pavarotti and see why it became the standard after this 1994 of O Sole Mio. Let's listen to that very, very, very short part, only the trill. Of course, we all tenors would like to have a lovely trill like Mr. Pavarotti did. Through this, as I was saying, 90% of those tenors have never succeeded. But it's good because when you do things, you have to do it nicely. And personally, I think his trill there is very nice.
It's perfect.
Good
There's one.
sounds, good volume, believable. He doesn't run out of breath. It's there. It certainly is there.
Yes, that's right.
So to wrap up today's program, Rafa, for you, Pavarotti's version is a thumbs up or is a thumbs down?
Thumbs
Agreed.
up.
For El Charro Cantor, his version in Spanish from the movie, thumbs up or thumbs down?
Thumbs up. At the end, at the end is just
Yeah.
some.
Me, the voice, yes. The arrangements, the girls, no. And the final version, Mr. Kaufman and Forostowski, up or down?
I say the middle. Yeah, mm, the Mr. Trablovsky or this guy,
The baritone, uh-huh.
yeah, the Barton. I'm not his fan. I need to say, no, at least not in this version of Also the Mio.
Yeah, yeah. And with this, we're wrapping up today's program. Thank you very much for having followed us on this first episode where we addressed O Sole Mio, and we'll see you in a month with another international song that I hope you will enjoy. Enjoy. Thank you very much, Rafa, for having joined us.
Thank you for inviting me.
Thanks,
Thanks so much.
everybody, and see you very, very soon. Bye bye.